Hey guys, I'm taking you back into a memorable weekend in Phoenix. I want you to imagine this: a warm campfire, mouth-watering food truck tacos, and a deep, soul stirring conversation that began with one simple question: how do you do that? In this episode, we dive into the powerful truth that confidence isn't something that you're just born with, but that it's built brick by brick through moments of courage. So, if you've ever wondered how to turn those small, brave choices into a life filled with bold confidence, then you're in the right place. All right. So, really quick, before we actually get into this episode, I just want to let you know that I've got something special for you if you have ever considered starting your own business. So, I'm going to be hosting a live free training called Find Your Profitable Business Idea and Take Action Without Overwhelm. Given that about 40% of the American workforce considers becoming an entrepreneur, I couldn't imagine a better way to spend an hour than to do so together, just to help you create clarity around your business idea and creating a plan on how to actually launch that dream business. So please check the show notes if it sounds like something you might be interested in. Choose the date and time that works best for you and reserve your spot. It's a free training. Okay. You could also check out brittanytalenci.com for details, and I will see you there. So, as we get in today, I want to take you back just a couple weeks ago when I was in Phoenix. I was speaking at the Live Bold event put on by Tierney Sherrill of the Live Bold community. I'm really true. She's an incredible woman. I've had her on the show before. It was back in November of 2024, where she just shared about her journey with mental health and a diagnosis with bipolar disorder, and then how she turned that into a message and a total movement. So it's such an inspiration. And just being in the presence, like at the event, it was such a great experience. And after the full day of the event, you naturally, and I think this happens at happy hours, this happens at just weddings sometimes, but you naturally always have the folks that stay the latest and that tend to mingle way into the evening. Well, I don't know if you'd be that surprised to hear that it's not uncommon for me to be that person. So that's exactly where I found myself, sitting by the fire, crushing some food truck tacos on a beautiful, warm Saturday evening in Arizona, and in deep, like reflective conversation with just a dear friend who had traveled up from Texas for the event. And at one point in our conversation, she turns to me and she just has this look on her face. And she asks me, "How do you do that?" To which I paused and questioned back, "Do what?" And then she proceeded to give me like one of the most genuine and thoughtful compliments I have ever received in my life, including then asking me, like, how do you have so much confidence? Like, have you always had this kind of confidence? And I sat there quiet for a moment, just like really aware of the moment and how beautiful it can be the way that others see us, but that we may not always feel that same way. Because you see, she had spent the day with her, like in her eyes, she had spent the day with a woman who could walk up to anyone and start a conversation. She had spent the day with a woman who could worship out loud and belly laugh with the new friend until she cried. Like, she had spent the day with a woman confident enough to step up on stage and to tell my story with such a deep conviction that I was exactly where I was supposed to be, and that this is all a part of a beautiful plan of surrender unfolding. She had spent the day with me. And at the end of all of it, she was asking me how the heck I was so confident. And in some ways, yes, I am confident. However, what she may not have realized, right, was that I was also the woman sitting there anxious about saying the wrong thing. Um, the woman constantly looking down to make sure that the button on my jean romper hadn't come undone. The woman like shaking as I held the microphone because I had actually been caught off guard by a slight schedule adjustment in the day. So, while like, yes, I do have a certain confidence about me, and others have asked me a similar question, I also wanted to share that my answer to her question because I may not necessarily always like feel confident, and I'm not always convinced that it's actually a confidence thing as much as it's a courage thing. You see, when she asked me, "Have you always been so confident?" This like big old grin came across my face because I knew that while sure my perceived confidence is what's on the outside, I know deeply the inner work that I've walked through, again, internally, that has allowed me to show up more confident in those spaces. And one of those internal muscles is courage. I think confidence is the result of courage. At least it has been for me time and time again. Like having courage to stand up for someone, having the courage to stand up for myself, practicing courage to try new things, do something different when the same patterns or choices or routines aren't yielding the results I want. It's courage that is the emotion and the action. Courage to be different, courage to use my gifts, courage to have a voice that gets to encourage others to be more courageous in their lives too. Courage to take a chance, courage to say, I love you, courage to say, I'm sorry. Like, I think it's more about courage. And that when we show up in courage, then we get to see like these little glimpses of what we're actually really made of. And I think that when we see those glimpses, I think that even like we're even surprised sometimes, like we surprise ourselves, but that in that surprise is like this proof that there is that piece inside of you that is capable. And so then your body and your brain kind of has this like, holy crap, I can do that kind of response. And then that proof is then what I've seen like lay the groundwork for confidence to be built. So I'll give you two really personal examples, like where this courage to confidence theory would be true. So first off, I'm confident when it comes to my faith, and that has absolutely come from being courageously obedient to walking in faith. So every time like I leaned in and I became more curious about what it could look like for me to live in faith, that takes courage. The courage to explore a deeper, like bigger existence. Courage to live a life that aligns to the values of that faith. And every time I did or I do, I see the faith tested and then proven faithful. And then voila, the confidence in my faith then continues to thrive. You following me? Another one. So I'm confident when it comes to my relationship with my spouse. And that sure as heck doesn't come from like, never having a bad day or heck, a bad year. Like, been there, done that. The greatest confidence in my marriage has come from the times when we courageously put down punishment and bitterness and chose forgiveness and grace instead. Like it's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's not the easy choice. And if you're listening right now and you're in a season in your relationship where it's hard, then you get exactly what I'm talking about. Like it takes courage to pursue each other wholeheartedly, passionately and intentionally. And every time I did or I do, I see that courage result in even more love in my marriage, which then proves that it's there and it's in me and I can do it and we can do it. And then voila, the confidence in my marriage continues to thrive. I also see this ring true in lots of relationships. Like it takes courage to send that text to the old friend who maybe you had a falling out with over a year ago. Or it takes courage to reach out to someone you love and to say, I'm sorry. And in that simple act of showing up in courage, like just saying sorry, it doesn't even matter how it's received, but what happens like in your body and in your soul is that you just proved to yourself that you can do it. I feel like it's like math. Like you make the courageous choice, which then proves you can, which then creates an additional layer of confidence, one choice at a time. It's inside and it's so available to all of us. And I think it just starts with courage, which I absolutely like I love is that it's entirely and it's solely in our control. So no outside circumstance gets to own if we get to make the courageous choice. We are responsible for our courage, which just in turns means that we get to flex that courage muscle as many times as we need to before it turns into radiating confidence, just like the confidence that my friend was experiencing off me that night of the event by the campfire. So, just as we bring this home with like our unjuggled summary, like I always like to do for you, I just want to leave you with this thought that confidence isn't a magic trait you're born with. It's built brick by brick through courage. Every time you take that leap, whether it's doing something different or speaking your truth or forgiving an old friend or simply just showing up despite your fears, you're flexing a muscle that grows stronger with every use. And even when we feel uncertain or anxious, like courage is always within reach. In fact, it's in those choices to step into the unknown and to love openly and to embrace like the possibility of growth that very courage it becomes the foundation upon which true confidence is built. So as you go into your week, like just ask yourself, where can you choose courage today? Whether it's taking a small risk or having that difficult conversation or simply believing in your own inner strength, just know that each brave act is a step toward a more confident you. And heck, I'll absolutely throw this out there too. Like, I'm confident in my ability to grow and serve others tremendously, like, especially when it comes to learning the keys to living a more purpose driven and abundantly joyful life. So, if this episode had an impact on you and you would like to chat more, I'd love to invite you just to reach out and let's just chat about how you could step into a more confident, purpose driven, and free version of your life too. So, check out again the show notes. I always put it in there, or you can email me directly at brittany@brittanyschlinchy.com. Just as always, thank you for joining me today. Stay bold, keep challenging yourself, and remember, like the courage you show today will light the way for your confidence tomorrow. Until next time, bye. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. It means the world to me that you're here to ride in the struggle bus with me and that you're willing to consider different perspectives, tools, and techniques that just might provide a little bit of relief and get you one step closer to the abundance that is available and waiting for us all. I hope you take a moment to grant yourself some grace where you've been denying it, some love where you didn't realize maybe it was right in front of you, and some faith where you thought all was lost. If this episode had an impact on you, would you please share a comment with a review? I'd love to hear what landed for you, and it helps us get the word out to our fellow struggle bus riders. So please review what was impactful for you. Just know these episodes are a pure labor of love in a space where I'm growing alongside you. I'm evolving every day, and I look forward to all the ways and the things and the perspectives and opinions and choices that will change over the course of time in my own life, day to day. Until next time, just know that you are loved, you are divinely cared for, And in the struggle, the journey of this life really is beautiful. I'm glad that we're in it together. Cheers.